16 people who witnessed the top shooting in Buffalo, New York in May of last year are suing social media and gun companies over the trauma they endured. The rare legal move was brought by Everytown for gun safety and names defendants like YouTube and Reddit. The suit alleges the gunman who killed 10 black people in the racist attack was radicalized in these online spaces. The suit also targets a gun retailer, a body armor manufacturer, and the shooter's parents. Joining me now is Kristen Elmore Garcia, a partner at the law firm of John V. Elmore PC, based in Buffalo, New York. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. In the U.S., we've seen lawsuits filed by victims who were injured in shootings or lost loved ones. This suit focuses, though, on people who were emotionally traumatized. Is that unusual?
Not at all, Jerika, and good evening. Thank you for having me. An emotional injury under New York state law is considered an injury. You have claims here on behalf of 16 living victims that were filed today, mostly employees of the TOPS location, as well as one companion case filed today on behalf of the now deceased Ms. Celestine Chaney. The case on the living victims focuses on claims for intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress, which are claims allowed under New York state law and are really at their base claims based on injuries. An emotional injury absolutely is an injury. These people have seen and witnessed some of the most traumatic events that anyone could possibly become a witness to in their entire life, and it's had emotional impacts on them that can sometimes manifest in the physical symptoms themselves and can have far-ranging impacts on both their personal, social, spiritual, and economic well-being.
Yeah, and to read parts of that complaint, there's a section in there that says the death, terror, and other harm suffered by plaintiffs was made possible by the companies and individuals who facilitated and equipped the shooter for his racist attack. What will plaintiffs need to prove in this case?
There's quite a few layers of what the plaintiffs on both the cases filed today and cases filed on behalf of some of the other victims, including one case filed by my own office that we will all have in common, that we will all have to prove. In any civil case, first you have to prove fault. You have to prove that the parties listed on the complaint have had a hand, and that the hand that they held was the causative factor in the injuries and in some cases the deaths involved. The foundation of the claims, I think, can be divided into two categories. You've got a couple of gun industry defendants, and you've got a couple of social media platform category of defendants. Those are common themes throughout all three of the cases, and especially the ones that were filed today. And essentially, the plaintiffs will have to prove that the social media algorithms, this is what they're alleging. They're alleging that the social media algorithms influenced the mind of the defendant shooter, who then went out and committed this atrocious act. I think that there is a well laid out foundation, and that it's very likely going to be one of the first cases of its kind to be successful. And then you also have the case on the what we'll call the munitions defendants. One of them would be Mean Arms. They are alleged to have created a lock, which would supposedly make the high capacity magazine New York State compliant. And then you also have a claim against the body plate manufacturer, which sells direct to consumer body armor.
Speaking of some of those companies that are being sued, YouTube says, for instance, it, quote, has invested in technology teams and policies to identify and remove extremist content. We regularly work with law enforcement, they say, other platforms and civil society to share intelligence and best practices. When you see a statement like that and knowing about the personal case that you all have, what kind of defense strategy are you preparing for when it comes to these social media companies and saying, hey, the people who witnessed it, who were around it, who heard the gunshots also deserve something? And what is that something? But I'll let you answer the first part of that question.
Right. The social media companies, they have to put on a defense. That's their right to do so in a civil complaint. Very likely that their defense will be based on Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which insulates social media platforms for the specific content found online. Now, YouTube is telling you that They do have moderation teams. However, it's not just merely the content that is displayed on the website, but it's the method and the packaging and the promotion and the direct feeding and influencing of young, easily impressionable minds that use the platforms that is the basis of the lawsuits.
Kristen Elmore Garcia, of course, we hope to check in with you as you continue to follow this complaint as well as the one that you all have in court, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.